Emi.
And Feliz.
And here's today's episode of Now You See.
What are we seeing? Oh, the podcast, right. Yes. That's... So I have a question for you, actually. And for you. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Oh my god, yes. I love pineapple on pizza.
Okay, thank you so much. If I've lost some of you right now, I think any topping is a pizza topping if you want it to be.
So even ice cream? I mean, I guess we could if we really wanted to.
I mean, if you think about it, ranch dressing is just salty melted ice cream.
With
Buttermilk?
MSG.
With MSG. Fun fact also, the main ingredient in ranch dressing is MSG. And don't worry, we have an episode on that coming up soon.
We'll dive more into that.
That aside, I'm here to talk about pineapple on pizza, specifically the Hawaiian pizza. Did you know the Hawaiian pizza was not developed in Hawaii? The Hawaiian pizza was invented in 1962 by a Greek-born Canadian named Sam Panopoulos. I probably butchered that, I'm sorry. At the Satellite Restaurant in Chatham, Ontario. So this man was not Hawaiian. He was not Italian. He was Canadian.
Some appropriating shit happening
Right?
here.
Like there's a lot of things happening right now. And so I think that kind of begs the question, right? Because if we were to take this literally, the Italians, inventors of pizza. I feel like that's accurate.
Yes.
So obviously Italians came to America, brought their pizza here, and now all throughout America there's different styles of pizza, right? We have classic New York, really thin. There's the super deep dish from Chicago. There's Detroit style pizza, and I think even Los Angeles has its own pizza scene. I don't know what to call it, but I feel like it has its own pizza scene. And even in those boroughs, pizza is treated differently. So why then is there such a huge discourse of why pineapple doesn't belong on pizza?
I don't know. To me, I'm just like, if it's good, it's good. Although I still question the name because I'm like, it's called Hawaiian just because there's pineapples on there? Is that what you associate Hawaii with?
But funny enough, I went to Hawaii a couple years ago and I had a Hawaiian pizza. And mind you, they are the main exporters of pineapple. So it was fantastic. Like a fresh pineapple and like fresh cut ham on a beautiful slice of pizza. It was perfection. And I guess also, if you don't like pineapple on pizza, I'm assuming you don't like sweet and salty. That's kind of my guess. And also, I've seen pineapple on pizza done with canned pineapple, which is a completely different thing. It might be too sweet, it might be too syrupy, or it's a texture thing. Like people who don't like mushrooms, which I understand. They're kind of got that spongy texture.
I love mushrooms.
I do too. I'm not saying I'm that person. I'm just saying I know these people exist. You know, and I feel like you can put, there's anchovies on pizza. People put fish on pizza.
Oh, I like anchovies too.
I feel like we're just getting to things that we like and people don't like.
I'm sorry. Like I'm the weird one apparently that likes anchovies and I like pineapple.
Well, I mean, I think we also both grew up with tinned fish and fish in general. So like fishy things, salty things, you know, really flavorful things were kind of great. And also the umami of a fish thing on a pizza or on anything actually for that matter. So we have all these. Why doesn't it belong on? If people are putting olives, mushrooms, spinach, kale, I'm assuming broccoli probably exists on pizza somewhere. Wasn't that an Inside Out? She put broccoli on pizza in San Francisco? Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I think that was true. Like broccoli was on pizza and she was like freaking out over it, which I've had broccoli on pizza and I actually thought it was delicious, but you know, again, I think I just like anything.
To each their own. And like there's vegan pizzas, there's gluten-free pizzas, there's paleo pizzas. I think these rules are pretty arbitrary. And I don't think this just applies to pizza. I think some people have rules in their life for no reason. You're kind of limiting yourself just because someone told you something. Like, is there something that someone ever told you that you had in your brain and you kept doing it, but then realized later in life that it doesn't actually affect anything?
So when I think about that, it's just like, my brain just goes everywhere because I feel like that is such like a question we have, especially as creatives. You know, like it's like there's rules, but then there isn't rules. When I went to acting class, my teacher, he would say, oh yeah, I need you to look at your scene partner or like the reader when doing self-tapes. And like, you know, when we're submitting the self-tape, for those who don't really know what like self-taping means, it's like you get an audition and instead of showing up in person, you record yourself on your own independently and send it to the casting director. And so a lot of it entails like, you know, you have your own camera set up doesn't always have to be fancy, but just like you got your own camera set up, you got like your microphone or just something that picks up your voice well. And then you have some basic lighting, and then this is like highly recommended and very industry standard, but you have someone read the lines to you, like, because, you know, there's usually a different person in the scene with you. And it was funny because my acting teacher, he was like, look at your reader, make sure to look at your reader. But then like the script says, oh, this person looked down. He's like, no, look at your reader. And then he eventually says, so you want to connect with your reader, but eventually you'll be able to break the rules and break eye contact. So don't think that is the only way to do self-tape. So our brain was just like, huh? You know, so there isn't this concrete, like, you have to look at the reader or you don't look at the reader, you know? It's just like, he was encouraging us, the students, to look at the reader, to connect with the reader, but eventually he even said it himself, like, oh, you can break the rules and eventually, like, do something different. And so it kind of, like, was a bit of a mindfuck, not gonna lie.
No, yeah, that's wild.
And it's like, you know, like, I think for, like, a lot of people who are starting off with acting, I kind of wonder if they just look at that like, wait, so are you telling us to look at the reader or not? And they get, like, in their heads super confused. But then, like, you start realizing that there are little small rules, but then you learn to, like, break them. And it also kind of reminds me of, he said that there was an actor, I can't remember his name. It was like this really famous actor on camera, and he actually, like, submitted an audition. I remember now. It was like a student they didn't disclose his name. The studio didn't disclose his name. So the acting studio, they shared a story where there was this actor who, he's actually a pretty big name, but they just didn't share his name. But they said that, like, he submitted an audition and it was literally him going into a car and driving off or something like that, and that's because the scene called for that. But at the same time, like, you know, we're so used to, like, the traditional, like,
backdrop, lighting, ring light.
Yeah, and just standing there talking to a reader. But for what I guess the casting directors, like, loved that performance so much, the acting so much, and, you know, it kind of breaks all traditional rules, and yet he booked the gig. So not advising everyone to do exactly what he did, because
that's not going to guarantee booking.
Yeah, that's not going to guarantee you booking, but it's just, like, goes to show, like, I feel like in the creative industry, like, thinking outside the box is so important.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, it's like, it's so important, and not to be stuck in rules, but at the same time, there are some rules. So.
Yeah, it's a strange thing when it comes to rules, right? Because rules were created by us. Like, we're created by humans, and we know we're imperfect people all the time. And we put these rules, again, to give navigation for people that don't have an understanding of what's going on. But I always remember, have you seen Rent?
A little bit of it,
okay.
yeah.
So one of the songs is sung by Mimi, who's one of the girls, and one of the lines of the song is she breaks the rules once she learns the game, right? So there is a game that's being played in any industry, any field that you're trying to go for, and the thing is that rules are meant to be broken. That is a very high standard thing, because, you know, we follow these things just because someone tells us to do it, not realizing that there is usually a better way. Like, if you walk into any job, they'll tell you how to do your job. But at some point, you'll follow all these directions and then realize there are shorter pathways, or there are more efficient ways to get stuff done. So you stop following those rules. Funny enough, in my day job, I actually am a part of, you know, I can't say much about it, but in general, one of the things we do is we create documentation for instructions for people. And that stuff constantly gets revised, one, due to the efficiency of our workers, and two, to the nature of our work. Because what we're looking for is certain aspects of it that we don't actually have to go through an entire process just to get one single value. We can actually break it down into pieces and get there without following things rule by rule by rule. But that's also why we revise things constantly. So I think that's part of it, where we have the rules as a baseline, but they're not meant to be a commandment. And I think that was a great thing that your acting coach brought in, because, oh my gosh, you told us to do this and then this, but then not this, but then this at the same time. Like, that's what like my brain just, I was doing the thing when the things and the quotations are in my face, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what's going on.
It's that that meme, I feel like anyways, it's the girl that she's thinking, and there's all these mathematical quotations and equations.
I know, that's how I envision it too. Yeah, and it's just like, and sometimes it's really hard to explain, especially to like those who are not a part of like acting or just any like creative stuff. Like they're just not as like familiar, or they're still starting out. Like for example, I think a friend of mine had asked me like, she was like saying like, should you paraphrase when it comes to like acting out in the script? And I'm like, well, like it's kind of like a yes or and a no. For example, I know like the hard rule for like sitcoms is you do not want to paraphrase, because those jokes are being set up for like the next episodes. It's really important. So it's like a no-no, right? But then like, you know, for things like a feature film or like, you know, like I just feel like, and even for sitcoms, like sometimes there is a little bit room for like ad lib. I've seen it before. Like I've been on set where I've witnessed like some actors like even like just ad libbed a couple things, and it was so funny. It's like if it adds to it, sure. So, you know, I also don't want to like say like for everything don't paraphrase, and at the same time I don't want to say like don't ad lib or ad lib. So it's just like, but it was funny because my friend, because she was like kind of new, she was just like, oh, so is paraphrasing okay? I'm like, no. Like I'm so just like, is it catch-20? You know, like it's just like, I think maybe she was thinking a little more like maybe she just like thinks a little more concretely, and she's just like, I just want to be told
yes or
what
no.
to do, yes or no. And something that my acting teacher used to say is like, you know, actors are the most hardworking people. If you tell them to do something, they'll
That's
do
true.
it.
They will do
guarantee success. Yeah. But it's like, you know, tricky. And then like another thing too is like, what are the rules on slating? That's a big one, because like, I guess like back then when there was like the old technology, you did need to slate.
You did.
But nowadays, like everything's digital. Like
everything's digital, and it can be done together. You don't need, you know, the board. Like it's nice to have it just for organizational sake, but you don't necessarily need it to run an organized, successful production, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, and it's not really something that, you know, I don't want to say it's not important, but it's just like not really needed. But some casting directors like it because they say things like, oh, it shows your personality. It's kind of like the secret first take. That's like, at least in voiceover.
Yeah.
In voiceover, that was like
sense.
something that a lot of people brought up. But I went to a workshop like a couple months ago, and this director that I took a workshop for, when someone asked, do you like slates? He was like, oh no, I fucking hate slates. Like, he was just like, I hate it. Like, he's just like, they are useless, they're pointless. Like, you know, he was just going on about how pointless they are. But like, it goes to show, like, again, it's like a preference of the casting director. And so like, the way I see it, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know what else to tell you, because like my friend was like, should I slate? You know, like, should I slate? Or like, you know, what's the rule on that? And I'm just like, it really depends on the casting director. It really does. And I don't know how else to say it. There's no like hard set rule of like what's going to get you booked. There's just so many things that happen. So like, again, like there are just some rules that are there, and sometimes like it doesn't need to be there.
And I think you brought up a great point, especially in regards to slating, where it was done at a time where it was needed, right? We didn't have phones at our disposal. We didn't, like, I could take a headshot in an hour if I wanted to at some local photo studio. Well, we could actually do it right now. Like, we can use my phone, get some great headshots of me, and have those ready to go and submit for something, because we have that. But cameras technology, it wasn't the best. Like, for you to get a good headshot of yourself and do all that stuff, it wasn't as easy. So a slate, which is a very description version of what you look like, was the easiest way for them to picture that in their minds. Versus now, we literally have a picture. As you can see, we have a picture. And these rules were created at a time where they were needed. But that's what it comes down to, is like, do we need them anymore? Same thing of like, someone probably disliked, maybe an Italian or someone, a pizza purist, thought pineapple does not belong on pizza because it was never done like that before.
Yeah.
Because pineapple wasn't an option. Pineapple was an exotic fruit. Even in...
I don't think they grew those in Italy.
No, they didn't. Like all the major fruits actually within the Europes were imported, like during the trades and everything and colonization. So fruits were like a big deal, to the point where they weren't treated as like a pizza topping, right? Because a pizza was a regular common folk food. You wouldn't put something of higher value of like a pineapple on a pizza. I also think people just don't like the taste of sweet and sour or sweet and salty.
Yeah, it might be an acquired taste.
It's an acquired thing,
yeah.
but these rules were kind of like, is it a rule or is it a preference?
So like, you know, what, just echoing on that, like I'm thinking like what you're kind of saying is like, do we keep old traditions just for the sake of keeping old traditions? Or like, you know, what's that balance, you know? Because I also, like, as you're bringing up this, a part of me is thinking like, yeah, I can understand, like, especially when it comes to foods, like sometimes people want to keep things traditional and want to retain its culture and like, but then like at one point, when do we like kind of open things and move along with the times and just like try to expand ourselves more and try to like, you know, so that's like, I want to say that's like a really like, just like something to think about. And it's like, and oddly enough, I feel like there's no hard rule on this.
Well, in general too,
so
if we think about all of these things that have been established, like pizza's been established for a long time, but most likely was created out of a spot of someone not wanting to do it the original way, right? Like someone probably created pizza dough because they didn't want regular bread. They wanted like something chewier and yeastier, and like they didn't want a sandwich, they wanted a wrap, or they wanted like a pie. And I think that's what most food is that it goes through iterations, but only now because we add the advent of technology and a lot of historical documenting that we can see how things developed really, really quickly. Like someone comes up with a new food combination and it's on TikTok within minutes and it's viral within hours. So it's the same thing with just about any rule. Like I did a TikTok for this of putting she knows this already, of putting basically a Western American hamburger in a spring roll wrapper. And I already said, I know the Vietnamese community is going to come for me, but it worked out really. I didn't have burger buns, I didn't have rice, I couldn't really kind of do these things. I was in a rush. I had about 15 minutes before I had to go to a dance class, and I needed something high protein, you know, low calorie, that kind of vibe, and it hit. It was perfect. Was it traditional? Was it correct? No. Did I break some rules? Probably all of them. But did it work for the moment? Was it edible? Was it delicious? Yes, it was. So who's to say, you know, I'm not going to tell you how to eat your lunch the same way you're not going to tell me how to eat mine.
Yeah, and I like that, like, that mindset too, like, you know, or perspective, because, you know, when she sent me the, like, video of just, like, her making those spring rolls, I actually didn't knock it. And I was like, you know, that is very resourceful for someone who did not have any burger buns, did not want to go out and get some. And I don't blame you, because there are some days I don't feel like doing that, you know? And it was like interesting because it kind of reminded me of another Vietnamese dish, because there's like also meat in the same like wrapping, but like obviously we're not dipping it in like ketchup and mustard. That was just something that she was trying. But like, I actually thought that was very innovative. That was very creative. And I was like, this is like kind of neat. You know?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I still prefer a regular traditional Vietnamese spring roll. We had some at lunch just a few weeks ago. They were fantastic. But was mine worse than that? I wouldn't say worse. I think it was a decent amount of, it wasn't traditionally Vietnamese. Broke all those damn rules real quick, aside from the spring roll wrapper, which was, but it was tasty and I was happy. And I think that's how art is made, right? We don't follow, there aren't technically rules in art. Yes, you learn techniques, you learn style points, you learn vignettes and focus and the rest of it. But in general, you can do a painting with Crayola watercolors. You don't need oil paints. You don't need acrylics. You don't need to go to Blick Art to get all these expensive things to create art. There's no rule that's saying that you need specific items to create something. Like, we're doing a podcast on YouTube instead of just on a regular podcast network. Why? Because why bother with the regular stuff? I want you to see. I want to see us. That's really what
Even like you mentioning art, it's so true, because like even art is also evolving, you know, like before it used to be drawings on paper. Hell, it was sculptures, you know, and I mean, there's still people sculpting and whatnot, but like people are also moving into digital art. And I think that there's, you know, like I think that digital art is amazing. It requires just as much work. But I think on the flip side though, I kind of like, again, don't blame people for like also being a little iffy at times, because they're like, oh, like the arts, who's going to keep drawing and like, you know, painting and stuff like that. I mean, I think there's plenty of people.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
But you know, but like, at the end of the day, I just like kind of look at it as like art's evolving.
Yeah.
You know?
Art's evolving, and there are different artists now, right? I think there was a period of time where art was only available to those who had the funds for it, right? It only became to the rich and the wealthy, or the people that could afford to hire artists. But I think now there's so much technology, there's so much knowledge, and again, we've broken so many rules of what's considered art. I mean, who knew? And I'm going to talk about this because it just happened. The Oscars, they were fantastic, right? Like, swept away. Best original animated film went to K-pop Demon Hunters, right? The best original song was for Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters. The best cinematographer was the first woman. Her name was Autumn Durald Arkopa. She was Filipino and Creole. She is Filipino and Creole, and she did a fantastic job with cinematography in the Oscars. And you know, how many, not even 70 years ago, women weren't allowed to do a lot of different things, let alone do production. And these women won awards.
Right.
For these great things.
First woman of color, first woman to win cinematographer.
Right?
Yeah.
And like EJ also, she started off within K-pop and was rejected multiple times. I won't get into the deep lore of that because that was probably a lot that I don't even know about. And she wasn't accepted in that setting and came, thankfully, to our part of the world and blessed us with Golden and this idea of K-pop Demon Hunters, and it took over. It took over, and that's what it was, where she knew that those rules didn't apply to her.
To touch upon, like, you know, like, I want to say K-pop Demon Hunters and just how refreshing it was to see it, like, on screen for the first time. So when I first saw the movie name, I was like, what is this? And then like, yeah, I was like, what is this? And then I clicked on it and I was like, I was blown away. And I will say this, like, it's kind of sad thinking about it, but like K-pop Demon Hunter wasn't really approved at first as a concept because they were just thinking like, oh, no one's gonna like listen to this because it's like
Asian.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, it featured like Korean American culture. It was like it was like a little wacky, I guess, because like it does kind of adopt from some like anime styles. It does kind of give me like a lot of Sailor Moon vibes.
Oh, 100%.
Like
100%.
Yeah, and it's like hello, a lot of us '90s kids like grew up with Sailor Moon.
But they thought it was so niche that I'm like, this population that will like this is going to be so small. That was what they were thinking in their head, and it blew up.
It blew up. Seriously, it's like Frozen status. Like, we haven't had something like this since like Frozen, where it's like the little kids are starting to sing it, and now every little child is singing it. And then like not only that, to like believe like, oh, Hollywood is not woke enough to listen to Asian stories. That is so wrong. Like, look, they took a chance. They took a chance, and it blew up.
Yeah, why not? This is a sign to take your chance. I mean, also, Golden was one of 2 songs that was performed at the Oscars that night, which is, again, they're Asian. The other song that was sung was, I'm going to double check this because I don't want to get this wrong. It was from Sinners, called I Lied to You. And that was a fantastic performance. I know you haven't seen the movie, but there is a scene where Ryan Coogler does this great one-take shot of Miles Caton, who is the main singer in this, and he's singing, and then as it's happening, a bunch of different cultures and dancers diverge down into where they're setting. It's a beautiful scene. They reenacted that pretty much live for everyone, and one of the greatest reveals of that is Misty Copeland popped out of the back and just starts doing these beautiful ballet lines and pirouettes and moves, and she also just had a hip replacement a few months ago, so the fact that she was able to do that is insane. Additionally, too, she was the first Black ballerina from the American Ballet Theater, right? And, you know, again, these are traditionally white fields, let me just say. So everyone's breaking rules and creating all of these beautiful motions and bringing people to tears and showing their stories and telling us about it as well. So rules are meant to be broken. Put your pineapple on pizza, go make art with literally nothing, and tell us more about it later.
Absolutely.
This has been great. Thank you again for joining us. You could be doing anything with your time, but you're here listening and are watching with us, and we appreciate your time. We hope that this has inspired you to pursue the art, to listen to more things, to seek other stories from different perspectives and different backgrounds. And we hope to see you again in the next episode.
Yep, I'm inspired already. I'm gonna go write my short film soon.
Let's go! Short film!